Welcome to today's Explainer. We're tackling something literally every parent or caregiver has faced at 2 a.m. A coughing, completely congested, miserable child. You're absolutely exhausted and you just want to fix it, right? Well, today, we're flipping the script on those sleepless nights to reveal a hidden factor that might just be the absolute key to recovery. So what if the most important treatment for your child's cold isn't medicine at all? I mean, think about it. When a kid catches a cold, our absolute first instinct is to run straight to the pharmacy. We immediately start asking ourselves, okay, which syrup should we buy? What nasal spray works best? Do we need to load up on vitamins? Wait, should we call the doctor right now? We basically wage this absolute war against symptoms using literally every single bottle in our medicine cabinet. But before we even start talking about medication, there's a fundamental question we usually skip right over. And here's the answer. The biggest factor might actually just be the air inside your home. I know, that sounds incredibly surprising, maybe even a little too simple, right? But for most respiratory infections, which are, almost always caused by viruses that attack the nose, throat, and airways, the environment around a sick child becomes absolutely critical. The actual air your child breathes has a far greater impact on their recovery than a lot of those heavily marketed products you're going to find sitting on pharmacy shelves. Now, here's a kind of uncomfortable truth. Most parents get this wrong. And look, they get it wrong entirely out of love. One of the absolute biggest mistakes we make is assuming that a sick, shivering kid needs a warm, toasty room. We crank up the thermostat, we pile on a dozen blankets. But in reality, children rarely start sniffling because the room is too cold. Way more often, they're struggling because the room is too warm and, crucially, way too dry. Section 1. Why kids get congested. Let's take a quick look at the biology of a cold. You see, children aren't just miniature adults. Their biology is actually physically different. They naturally have much narrower airways than we do. And because their breathing passages are so incredibly small, they are highly sensitive to even the absolute slightest blockages. I mean, a tiny amount of swelling or just a little bit of fluid that you or I wouldn't even notice, that can completely block a child's nasal passage, turning them into mouth breathers and making sleep pretty much impossible. Normally, healthy, moist mucus traps viruses really effectively. But when the air in your home is dry, that narrow airway becomes a massive problem. The dry air literally physically strips moisture away from the mucus in the child's nose. And as it loses that moisture, it gets thicker, stickier, and it starts to rapidly accumulate inside the nose and airways. So the virus is really only half the problem here. The other half is this thick, immovable mucus. And that right there is exactly why kids sound so incredibly congested at night. Moving on to Section 2, the dry air danger. Let's talk about winter heating effects. 20 to 30%. During the winter months, the second our indoor heating and furnaces kick on, they dramatically dry out the air inside our houses. In a lot of homes, the indoor humidity levels can plummet right down below 20 to 30%. Guys, that is literally desert-level dryness. And unfortunately, most parents don't even realize this massive drop is happening right inside their child's bedroom, at the exact moment the child's respiratory system is desperately trying to fight off a virus. This brings us to Section 3, the science of mucus as our primary defense. We almost always look at mucus as just this gross symptom we need to eliminate, right? But it's actually the body's primary defense mechanism. Think of it like a biological sticky trap that catches viruses, bacteria, dust, allergens, basically catching all the bad stuff so the respiratory system can safely clear it away. But here's the catch. This entire protective system relies entirely on moisture to function. When the air is super dry and the mucus dries out, this incredible defense system essentially just jams up and stops working efficiently. As a result, kids feel worse, they sleep worse, they breathe worse, and honestly, they just end up staying sick a whole lot longer. Section 4, the ideal recovery room. Let's talk about optimizing that air. Okay, so here's your gold standard blueprint. Instead of just guessing, these precise targets are going to give you the ultimate recovery environment. For temperature, you actually want to aim for a surprisingly cool 64 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. And for humidity, your target zone is sitting right between 50 and 70%. Now, for most families, hitting that humidity target is definitely the much bigger challenge, especially when you're in the dead of winter. Which is exactly why you absolutely must monitor the room with a digital hygrometer. It is honestly so fascinating to me that people will happily go out and buy humidifiers and humidity monitors to protect their expensive hardwood floors, their delicate houseplants, or, their wooden guitars. Yet we never even consider measuring the humidity when our kids are constantly getting sick. A small, really inexpensive digital hygrometer tells you exactly what's going on. Because look, without actually measuring the moisture in the room, you are completely flying blind and just making guesses. To actually reach that 50 to 70% humidity sweet spot, just opening a window usually won't cut it. Most homes are going to need a humidifier. Now, whether it's cool mist, warm mist, or one of those devices with air filtration, they can all work perfectly fine. The exact technology honestly matters a whole lot less than the final results. You really just want to prioritize safety, ease of cleaning, and ease of use over the specific type of mist. Some do have air filtration, which is a fantastic bonus since cleaner air generally feels easier to breathe, but your number one goal is literally just getting that moisture back into the air. Section 5, Common Parenting Mistakes. Let's look at those well-intentioned errors. So there are a few really big mistakes we parents make with the absolute best of intentions that actually accidentally make congestion way worse. First, overheating the room and overbundling the child. Like we just talked about, warmth doesn't cure a cold. It usually just dries the air out even more and makes the kids super uncomfortable. Next up is relying on little bowls of water near the bed. While sure, it might add a tiny bit of moisture, a static bowl of water simply cannot evaporate enough volume to actually change the humidity of an entire bedroom. And finally, opening windows in winter. A lot of parents think fresh air automatically means moist hair, but cold outdoor air actually holds very little water vapor. So when that cold air comes into your warm house and heats up, your indoor relative humidity can actually drop even further. Another super common tactic is the hot shower or steam bath. You know the drill. You lock yourself in the bathroom with the hot water running. And while that incredibly humid air can temporarily loosen mucus up, regular nasal saline drops or saline sprays often give you the exact same benefit, which is unobstructed breathing, in a way simpler, highly effective, and just much more comfortable way. Plus, you kind of have to be careful with steam, right? Because you do not want to confuse healthy humidity with excessive dampness. Having very high humidity sitting in your home can encourage mold growth and ramp up allergens. We definitely don't want a soaking wet house. We want perfectly balanced indoor air. Saline just helps you achieve that biological result without soaking your drywall. Section 6. The Butter Breathing Checklist. Here are your actionable steps for recovery. Okay, here is your game plan. Step 1, dress your child comfortably. Please don't overbundle them. Step 2, keep the room cool, right around that 64 to 68 degree mark. Step 3, maintain that proper humidity between 50 and 70% using a humidifier and verify it with your hygrometer. Step 4, ensure clear, unobstructed nasal breathing using some simple saline sprays. And Step 5, just let the child sleep. Remember, guys, a lot of these respiratory infections improve totally on their own in just a few days. The human body already knows exactly how to fight these viruses. Our job isn't to constantly wage war on the symptoms. Our job is simply to create the perfect conditions that allow the body to do its vital work. And that brings us perfectly back to the core message of this entire explainer. The first prescription for a cold isn't found in a pharmacy. It's found in the air your child breathes. By shifting your entire focus away from the medicine cabinet and toward the room's actual environment, you are giving your child's natural defense systems exactly what they need to win the battle. If this explainer gave you an aha moment today, do me a favor and share it with a parent who always turns the heat up when their child gets sick. Let's empower them with this knowledge so we can literally all get a little more sleep this season. But, it kind of leaves you wondering, if we've been getting the air our kids breathe wrong this entire time, what other common sense health habits in our homes are actually doing way more harm than good? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I will catch you in the next explainer.